Alright lads, so the grind for super link slots do not stop. This month we have a new set of inheritance trials which did start on the 12th of June and it will be lasting until the 10th of July. Within this video, breaking down the IT quest, letting you lads know some characters that I would personally recommend and characters that I will be using to tackle this month of inheritance trials to get as much potions as possible. Now before we do talk about the IT quest itself, and before I do recommend characters that I would personally be using or characters that I would recommend using, of course here are your free super link slot characters. Regardless of the killer, you want to use these three because they do offer 5 additional super link slots. If you use 4 Noels in a quest, you're guaranteed 20 power pots. So if you are someone that wants to farm most efficiently with less soul tickets as possible, then of course having a full room with these characters is going to be more ideal. Personally, I don't really care about super link slot characters. I kind of just host my own rooms, and if you have them, you have them. That's great. If not, it's not that bad, as the drop rate for super link slot potions, especially on the ultra difficulty, isn't that bad to make a big fuss about it. With that said though, let's jump into the IT quest. This time around, it's actually a lot different. Now, for inheritance trials, you do need to keep in mind that you always want to inflict status elements. Characters that can inflict status elements or characters that have an increased chance of inflicting status elements are going to be ideal here because it does negate the Iron Skin ability, where they do take less damage unless you have been inflicted by a status element. So of course, characters with killer here, characters with status elements are going to be more ideal here to be used. However, one thing you need to keep in mind is that this is the first time we have seen an inheritance trial quest feature 2 types of enemies. Normally, it's only one type of enemies. It's either all no affiliations, or Soripus, for example, Arankas, Hollows, for example. This time around, the enemies that you'll be going against are no affiliations. However, the bosses, the ones with a lot of HP, are actually Soripers, and some of them are even captains. And what this means is that if you do bring a team full of no affiliation killers, which is normally what you would do, if you go to a boss stage, and when you get to the boss stage, the enemies are going to have a lot of HP, and because you don't have killer against them, you're not going to be doing that much damage against the bosses. So it's very important here that you do work on your character's bonus abilities by either giving them weakened defense to make sure your soul bomb can do enough damage, using characters with something like weaken, for example, and most importantly, using your soul bomb when a boss does appear, because if you don't, it's going to take a long time to try and get through those bosses again, especially if you aren't bringing Soriper killers. So normally with these type of videos, we would only recommend to bring no affiliation killers because those are the enemies you are going against, but because we do have Soriper bosses, it's not too bad to kind of spice up a bit and bring 1 or 2 characters with Soriper Killer to ensure that they can do more damage to the bosses. Especially if you are bringing characters that have been worked on, maybe potentially max transcended, you can get away with bringing Soriper enemies. I kind of like to a certain extent because it does mean you can bring potentially more characters in different inheritance trials, but for the most part, this is also encouraging you to bring characters with 2 killers, especially those that have both no affiliation killer and Soriper Killer. So with that said, let's jump into the recommendation part of the video. So looking at the technique attribute, your best character without a doubt is going to be Arbok Ichigo. Now do keep in mind the enemies do have Hollow Killer, so you do kind of want to avoid bringing Hollow characters, but in Arbok Ichigo's case, he's just too good not to use him. The fact that he's immune to every status element means he's great in this particular quest because there are burn pools. Again, he is naturally immune to that. He does have a pretty good damage output with the 60% Berserker, with weakening, and his extra mobility makes him a really good character to use him. But the best thing about him is that he does have Killer against both the mobs in the stage and also the bosses, as he does have Soriper and no affiliation killer, essentially making him the best technique character to use here if you do want to clear very fast. In addition to having weakening and bombardment on his album, even if the character is only 1 out of 5, at least with attention tie, you will be able to easily nuke through most of the bosses if you are trying to clear very quickly. Personally, I would recommend, if you are hosting, to bring Arbok Ichigo. If you are bringing a full Grimmjow lobby, always have 1 Arbok Ichigo to allow you to get through the boss stage a lot easier, because if you're only using 4 Grimmjows, who of course you're only bringing because he's a super linkful character, you're going to be clearing very slow, and having 1 Arbok Ichigo on your team is going to make the quest just a lot more bearable. Aaroniero is going to be my next recommendation. Overall, just a very solid character here with a good damage output, more damage if you do inflict Lacerate, which he has a somewhat easy time doing since he does have Lacerate in all of his attacks, and he also does have the innate skill where every 5 seconds you have a 12% chance to inflict Lacerate for 2 seconds. So he's a very good character here, not like the most ideal one, but if you are someone that does like someone like Arbok Ichigo, for example, bringing Kisuke is going to be a pretty good substitute because, again, he does have a good damage output, good strong attacks, and can do more damage when you do inflict Lacerate, which should help you going against those boss stages. For Thousand Year Blood War Yamamoto is also going to be a very good character here since he does have the no affiliation kill ability with burn on all of his attacks, and also again very similar to Kisuke, every 5 seconds a 12% chance to inflict burn. It's going to make him a pretty good character to use here. In addition to that, he does come with fire duration minus 100%, essentially making him immune to the fire pulls, which will allow you to potentially stay at full stamina so you can ensure to do more damage. He does have a no affiliation killer, so he's more so here to go against the mini mobs, and then when you do use your sub bomb on the boss stage, for example, you are going to be inflicting burn, which will slowly but surely be clipping away at the boss's HP. And that's basically all there is for the no affiliation killers. You could bring someone like Nini, for example, but she doesn't really inflict status on them, so I'm not really going to purposely recommend her, but if you do have an option, especially if you have worked on her, for example, you definitely can bring her. However, my next recommendation is not going to be a no affiliation killer. Instead, it's going to be Arena Aaroniero, a super killer, because as I did mention, the bosses in this quest have a lot of stamina, and if you don't have someone with a super killer, at least 1 or 2 in your team, you're going to be clearing a tad bit slower, especially if you aren't working with max transcended characters. So every team for the most part should try and have at least 1 super killer to ensure that you can get through the boss stages a lot faster. And a very good substitute here is going to be Arena Aaroniero, as he does have a good damage output, good strong attacks, and also can inflict weakening, which is going to be great for the boss stages when you do use your soul bomb. If you build the character correctly, it should nuke for the entire boss, and if it doesn't, the weakening is going to allow your entire team to do more damage to them and also take 1 damage. So Arena Aaroniero, very good substitute if you are in need of a super killer in your team. And the same can be said for Kusaka. Kusaka is basically the exact same character here. Good strong attacks, good damage output, also increases your team's damage output against status augment affected enemies, which again will help you clear the boss stages. And he's made here once more because he does have a super killer, which will allow you to have an easy time getting through the boss stages. So those are my 5 recommendations. Of course, I'm not recommending someone like Grimmjow. You're only bringing him because he is a super Linkster character. You're not really bringing him because he's good here. But again, if you want to get a lot of potions, then of course Grimmjow is going to be a good character to have here, alongside with maybe an Arpa Ichigo lead, for example. Moving on to the heart attribute though, Nini. The Christmas version of Nini, who recently just got her first rerun, is a very good character here, mainly because she does have an increased chance of inflicting a status augment against 2 types of enemies. The 2 types of enemies that you're going to see in this particular quest actually does have no affiliation killer and super killer. With the fact that she has frenzy +2 and also weakening, makes her the best character for this particular quest, and it's amazing too because again, she is a super Linkster character. So regardless of the fact that she is offering you more super Linkster potions, she would have been the most ideal character here anyway, and the fact that she is giving you the extra pot is just like a nice little cherry on top in my opinion. If you're looking for a team that can clear very fast and have, killer against both the bosses and the little mini mobs, at the same time get a lot of potions, 4 Ninis are going to be the go-to. But if you're someone that does lack Nini, 6th Anniversary Aizen's also going to be a very good character here. Now, do keep in mind he does not inflict Drain because the enemies are immune to Drain, so he's only going to be inflicting Weakening, which is good enough. And the fact that he does have Super plus Captain Killer, it's going to make him good for just to be a boss killer, for example. If you are on a team where there's basically like no Super killers, or if you have 3 Ninis, bring in 1 Aizen isn't going to be the worst thing here, as he is going to allow you to get through the boss stages a lot faster, especially if you are working with Ninis that haven't really been upgraded all too much. So Aizen, good character here, especially against the boss stages. It kind of feels weird to recommend this character, but if you know what, if you don't have the 2 other options that I just mentioned, Fierce Battle Aaroniero is a decently good option here. He is a character that does have an increased chance of inflicting a status augment against mind attribute no affiliation enemies. So of course against the minimobs he's going to be a good character here. He does have Lacerate in all of his attacks, so he's a character that can do some good damage because he does have a 20% Berserker, with the fact that when you do inflict Lacerate, which he has a very easy time doing, especially against the little minimobs, you will be doing 40% more damage to those lacerated enemies. So he's not the worst character here. I personally wouldn't really bring him because I have better options, but if you don't have the other characters that I mentioned, Aaroniero isn't the worst character, and realistically this is like the only time he really is usable when it comes to Inheritance Trials. So if you are a Aaroniero fan, give him a swing. He's not going to be too bad. Other than those 3, there isn't that many other great characters here that I personally want to recommend. Of course, if you don't have them, bring your best Soriba or no affiliation killer for the heart attribute. That's just my best recommendation. At the same time, you could bring characters like Tokinada, Gin, and even Masaki. They're going to be good here as just NAD characters. Personally, I don't really like bringing NAD characters into IT, but they definitely are usable here if you have no better options. So I guess they're like an honorable mention part for the heart attribute. For the power attribute, this is a very lackluster attribute when it comes to the no affiliation killer. My best recommendation is going to be the Christmas version of Toshiro. Now, Toshiro is a link slot character, so at the very least, you are going to be getting, you know, normal link slots, not super link slots, but normal link slots while also farming it, with the fact that he does have an increased chance of inflicting a status ailment against, you know, technique, attribute, no affiliation enemies. It pretty much makes him the best character here, and he does inflict freeze in all of his attacks. He's a solid character, especially if you have no better option, and every 5 seconds he does have a 12% chance to inflict freeze. So realistically, this Toshiro is going to be like your best lead for the power attribute Ultra IT quest. Another character that I want to recommend is the Spirits Are Forever With You, Soifon. She is immune to the fire pulls, she does have killer here, and she is providing the team with a boost and a 5-hit barrier for herself, with a 3-hit barrier for her teammates. She can inflict both lacerate and also paralysis, making her a very solid character, especially if you are looking into a, you know, potential auto team. Soifon can actually get the job done, so very good character if you are interested in doing like auto teams, especially if you are using Soifon to have been worked on. Other than that, there's basically like no one else that you can realistically bring. Another good option is going to be the 3rd anniversary Aaroniero, who does support the team with the boost and the shield, so at least he's doing that. He does have killer and he can inflict weakening, so he's not the worst option if you do need that extra bit of support. And of course, because we are going to be going against, you know, super enemies, bringing someone like the Spirits Are Forever With You Kenpachi and also the Beyond Bankai version of Kisuke, they're also going to be very good characters here, as Kenpachi has a massive damage output that if you do work on him, regardless of what the mini mobs are going to be, you're still going to be doing a lot of damage. And again, once more, there are many here just to go against the bosses. Kenpachi will be sure to clear through the bosses very quickly, and then Kisuke is just going to be a very safe character, providing great crowd control, can inflict 2 status ailments, is immune to the burn. So again, if you are someone that doesn't like have any better options, Kisuke is actually a very solid lead here if you do need him. He will definitely go through the bosses very quickly, and again, if you do work on this character, you should have pretty much no problem going against the, you know, the no affiliation enemies to the quest. So for the power attribute, those are my 4 recommendations. Again, there's not that many characters that are like really ideal here, but those are my 4 that I would like to see when playing IT. Moving on to the speed attribute, just like Christmas Nini, Noelle is also going to be an amazing character here. She does have no affiliation killer with the increased chance of inflicting status ailments against no affiliation enemies, and because her soul bomb does have bombardment +1 with the spiritual pressure boost and also weakening, realistically you can just bring 4 Noelles and have an easy time, since your soul bomb does so much damage that even though the enemies are going to be Soripers where you have no killer against them, which normally means you're going to be doing significantly less damage, Noelle's soul bomb is strong enough to pretty much carry you through those enemies anyway, and if they are alive, they are going to be weakened, where you will just again do a lot of damage to them. Noelle runs are by far the fastest. If you do have 4 of them, you're also going to be getting a lot of extra super link slots. So if you have Noelle and Nini, if you recently just pulled them, definitely bring them into these quests, as they are basically ideal here. Other than that, when it comes to speed no affiliation killers, there aren't that many other great options. Your next best character, I guess, is going to be the White Day version of Grimmjow, who is a normal Linkster character, so if you do bring him, you are getting those extra additional pots, but unfortunately, he doesn't inflict any status ailments, so he isn't like the most ideal character here. He doesn't have any great survivability, but again, I just want to mention it, because if you have no other better option, Grimmjow isn't like the worst character to bring here. You're just going to need a good team to, you know, back him up. Other than that, bringing character with the Super Killer is also going to be ideal here. Someone like the Swimsuit Rector is going to be great here, as she does have weakened defense, weakening on a Soul Bomb, ensuring that when you do use a Soul Bomb, which she does have killer against the enemies, the bosses more specifically, you will be doing a lot of damage to them. So if you again are in need of a character to potentially help you get through the boss stages, someone like this Rector is going to be great. She's also going to be healing your team, potentially allowing your Noelles to stay at full stamina, right? So she's not a bad character, and at the same time, she is a normal Linkster character, so you will be getting those additional normal Linkster potions. And then lastly, 5th anniversary Byakuya, mainly just because everyone does have him, especially duped out. If he's 1-5, probably not, but he does provide some good crowd control, has some decent damage output, and should help you go against the bosses if you do need that extra bit of Swiper damage. With that said, that was the speed attribute. Now let's move on to the last one, that being the mind attribute. Your best character, without a doubt, is once more going to be a character that doesn't need enough killer here, that being the most recent Lisa. Holified Lisa is pretty much always going to be usable in any inheritance trial she goes against, as she is basically the hardest hitting character in the game here. She can inflict lacerate, she can inflict paralysis, which is great for her, and she's going to have a very easy time. She has the increased chance of inflicting status ailments against any enemy, so against the bosses and also the normal mobs, she's going to have an easy time inflicting status ailments and also doing a lot of damage. If you can get a team of full Lisas, bring it, because that's the best team you can make right now. Elise is an amazing character. Regardless of killer, she is always going to be the most ideal character. As it stands right now, she's basically the best main character for any inheritance trials, and every time you see a video from me about like your best characters to use, Lisa is always going to just be like number one for mind, unless we get a better mind character for anniversary. But Lisa, if you have her, definitely bring her. She's by far the best character here. My next recommendation is going to be the Burn the Witch version, the OG one of Noelle. Very good strong attack hit, good damage output with that 80% Berserker, and keep in mind, while it's unfortunate she doesn't afflict any status elements, which normally isn't good here, she is very fortunate enough to actually have Sniper and no affiliation killer. So she has killer against both the little mobs and also the bosses, making her a pretty good character here, especially because she already does have a pretty good damage output. Bring her alongside someone like, you know, the Lisa that we just talked about, then that Noelle is getting an additional 20% strong attack damage increase. So Noelle, again, very solid character here, thanks to the fact that she does have killer against both types of enemies. Another great character, of course, is going to be Daddy Ichigo, mainly just for the bosses again, once more. Good damage output, is providing the team with a team boost, and will have a very easy time going against the bosses. And especially if you are someone that has worked on this character, maybe hypothetically having max transcended, then it doesn't really matter what the mini mobs are, the no affiliation enemies. He's going to be doing a lot of damage to them anyway. But when you get to the bosses, that's where someone like this Ichigo is going to shine, because he's going to do a lot of damage, especially when the captains start to appear near the end of the quest. And at the very least, he is supporting the team with the team boost, so very valuable character to have here if you do lack the other characters that I just mentioned. Yoruichi Soifun also going to be a good character here, as they do have no affiliation killer, can inflict burn, and also does have some pretty good strong attacks with a good damage output. Do understand though, because she doesn't have super killer or any, you know, weakener or so bomb, she isn't really the best nuke, but she can definitely do the job. And personally, I was using her until I switched to Daddy Ichigo, as he was surprisingly performing better, even when he doesn't have killer against the normal mobs. And then lastly, my last recommendation for the entire video is going to be Spirit Society Ranku. No affiliation killer, good damage output, good strong attack, weakening on Soul Bomb, and it's just, again, a very solid character for the little mini mobs that you will be going against in this particular quest. So if you have any of those characters, definitely give them a try. If I missed anyone, I apologize. Those are just my personal recommendations. So with that said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. For me, this is the lineup that I will be using for Inheritance Trials. Let me know in the comments below your lineup for this particular IT quest. Definitely going to be going ham on the speed only and heart only days, as Noelle and Nini are basically the best characters to use there. And then power only, I might be chilling on this month, because power only is kind of just brutal to use. There's not really like any like super amazing characters to use here, but you know, we'll see, and maybe end of the month might change that. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, show support, a like in the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.